Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another wonderful episode of Thoughts from the Bench. We are a week removed from the NFL draft, and a week removed from food poisoning. How?
In hindsight, the tape says otherwise. I don't know what you saw.
I mean, you were the one that claimed food poisoning, so we're going off of what you did here.
I was pretty adamantly in the hangover category for you.
Yeah.
And Greg said, no, he did eat fish from a container.
He did, and in fairness, like I wasn't expecting you to be down for the count that long, but like I could buy the food poisoning aspect at one point.
You more than bought it. Greg was all the way in on the food poisoning.
Yo, what up, TFTB family? How you fellas doing? Happy Thursday. What's up, NBA Rigged? How are you
What
doing,
up,
buddy?
NBA Rigged?
Yeah, last week we were at the draft and we missed a show version of it, but we had some fun and did some Detroit stuff. And I can honestly say with a straight face, I'll probably never go back to Detroit ever.
But we gotta go to that thing that the guy was talking about at the cigar bar.
Yeah. But I mean, are you specifically going back for that thing that the guy at the cigar bar was talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was it?
I don't remember. I don't
know.
I don't know what it was at all.
He sold it pretty good then, if that's the case.
Yeah, it was like a mart. Not the Eastern Mart, but just like a mart.
Something port, right?
There's a port word there.
There are ports in Detroit. That is a fun fact, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, all good. It's good to be back. Good to be back on the show. It was a good little trip though. It was a fun adventure with the boys and Behrman and his girlfriend. So
yeah.
What did you guys do today for your birthday, Josh?
Nothing. This is what I'm doing.
You got pizza?
Got some pizza. We got Dado's, which is just got voted the best in OKC, and I don't know if it's the best in OKC, but it's pretty freaking good.
I was curious, like how much of the pizza you have consumed so far in OKC, and if you did have any personal favorites on that one.
Greg, I have consumed pretty much all the heavy hitters here, and that's about it. I've not tried every little mom and pop shop that's on a fucking corner of a, you know what I mean?
Right.
But all the heavy hitters I've had, and it's above average pizza in Oklahoma City. I wouldn't say it's Pittsburgh by any stretch of the imagination, but it's good.
Is there a type of pizza that is popular there?
Man, it's kind of a mixed bag, because, like, I would say probably thin, like super thin crust, like almost like pie crust is probably like the most common. There's a couple of great Detroit style places here. I think that's about it. It's pretty Detroit style heavy and pretty thin, very thin crust, which makes sense because Oklahoma City at one point was second behind Detroit in cart manufacturing in the United States. So the reason Detroit style pizza got invented is because they could make it in parts pans at the factories. They would put it on the machines, they would heat it up, and that's how they got their pizza. So obviously Oklahoma City would have picked that up somewhere along the way as well. So
I never knew about them being number 2 behind Detroit. That's actually a very fun fact.
Don't quote me on it, Greg, but I'm almost positive that that's what the guy on the boat tour said.
I could be lying, but not lying.
I would trust anyone on boat tours, honestly, if you ask me.
NBA writes in, miss you guys. We nailed the draft. Another 17-0 prediction from you fellas. LOL. Tie-dye shirt. Josh wins best dressed. Yeah, we'll probably go 17-0, but this year I believe it.
Maybe.
This year feels like, I mean, if there's any year to go 17-0, it's this year.
Right.
Absolutely. This was easily the one to go 17-0, you know?
Yeah. All right, let's get into the show here. Let's start it off, boys, our normal way. 3, 2, 1, action. Staying home from work 6, so not drinking. Greg, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking the last of the Singing in the Shower snack IPA from Vellum that you purchased when you were home 2 weekends ago. So thank you,
beer.
Sir.
Josh?
I'm babysitting a Modelo's.
Nice.
Only because it goes really well with this pizza.
Yeah, Modelo's a good pizza beer.
Yeah.
Underrated pizza beer, actually. You don't pair that usually with that. I'll give you that.
It's just what was in the fridge, Greg. Um, yeah. Do you want to hear results from mock drafts?
Yeah, yeah. So what Josh is alluding to is we did our mock drafts 2 weeks ago. You were supposed to put it out to make it legit. Greg didn't, so it doesn't count.
All
But we did our mock drafts for the show, and let's go pick by pick, name the actual pick, and then what we had and what the ranking had.
Oh, okay. You want to go that specific?
I don't care. I don't think we have. I mean, Josh, excuse me, Greg sent an entire list of stuff that we can do for today, but I didn't think we had too much. So
Yeah.
I would just say, like, let's just do this. I was dead last with 4 players picked and 11 positions correct. Deke, you were third with 6 players picked and 13 positions. Austin came in second with 6 players and 15 positions, which I believe is pretty much on pace for, if I like my memory serving me correctly, like Austin generally gets 6 to 8 players right and normally somewhere between 15 and 20 positions. So
Yeah. He does his research on needs very well, so I'll give him that.
and then this motherfucker had 12 players correct in 19 positions.
yeah,
Fucking
yeah, but he
insane.
didn't put it out. So
You're right.
Yeah, I didn't put it out, so it doesn't count,
What's
technicality.
what's super impressive is that the run between 9 and 12, he got Adunze, Fashnu, JJ, and Bo Nix all correct.
you had the
Even with the
Steelers
pick
taking
swap.
Fashanu?
No, he had the Jets taking Fashanu.
Oh. Or yeah. Sorry, I thought you said Troy Fatunau.
No.
Olu Fashanu. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. I'm here and alive.
So,
Interesting.
Yep. Crazy. Let's do this. So why did we not pick up Najee Harris's 5th-year option?
Greg?
Well, according to one Mike Tannenbaum, Najee Harris is not worth $7 million a year, which I call bullshit on that one. But the story that Jerry Dulac from the Post Gazette reported was that, and I don't know how accurate this is, but he claims the reason they did not pick up his 7th-year option, his 5th-year option, is because they want to see how he performs in Arthur Smith's offense this year before they decide what to do with him the following year, which I find very dumb.
Why is that?
Well, we have seen Najee Harris perform behind some very mediocre offensive line and some very questionable gameplay calling, if you will, in the first 3 years. And he's rushed for 1,000 yards in all 3 years. So what exactly does he have to prove? What exactly are you looking for? I understand the whole running back commodity type thing is that you can easily replace them and stuff like that, and now you're slowly starting to see it with wide receivers as well, where there's always like a glut of them coming out in the draft every single year. But like at the same time, and I'm pretty sure, Deke, you even said this to me as well, that like $7 million for a running back who consistently rushes for 1,000 yards feels like a bargain, especially in the NFL when the cap is going to continuously go up no matter what. Especially if you compare it to some of the deals that some of the other guys got, especially this past offseason with all the free agent guys that came out. Like I don't get why you wouldn't at least cover yourself for one more year at a reasonable cost, by the way, before you potentially lose a starting running back. Then you have to go into the draft, maybe find another filler, and then rely on him to tag team with Jaylen Warren. It just seems it doesn't make sense to me why the logic of trying to see how you will perform in an offense that is built around running the football doesn't correlate well with me. Does not make sense at all.
NBA asked if he could see the draft board link / also has anyone predicted Roman Wilson to us? We talked about Roman Wilson to the Steelers a lot.
We did.
back to the Najee thing. Yeah. So Josh Jacobs, 4-year, 48 million. Aaron Jones, 3-year, 12 million a year. Saquon Barkley, 3-year, 37 million. Those are, you could say those are the top running backs, whatever it is. I don't
And
think
Aaron
any of
Jones was
those.
not a free agent at first, too. He got cut to make that happen. So he clearly took a pay cut on that one.
It's
I don't think.
well, I mean, he's 12 a year. Like for me, it would have made all the sense in the world for us to bring Najee back on his 5th year because now he's just a free agent. I don't know the conversations that happen in the building. So obviously they could have ones that are like, all right, Najee, we're not going to pick it up, but like if you do well, we'll re-sign you. But you can't convince me that another team wouldn't bring him in and offer him more money. So it does feel like we're done with Najee, which is sad. 3 years of over 1,000 yards. As much as you can say, well, he might not have lived up to it. That's, in itself an accomplishment behind a shit line and shit play calling.
Never missed a game either. Which is
you have to assume
for a running back.
It's just them, like Greg said, them wanting to be like, all right, well, we need to see if he fits in our team and things like that. I don't know. I was surprised. It seems like $7 million for an extra year of him, and then we could have made a decision after that was simple. But it is what it is. So
it's also scary to think too that I think this is like the new MO of Omar Khan as well. Because if you looked at like when he took over, he got rid of a lot of Colbert stuff like very quickly.
Yeah,
like very very quickly. And Najee was a first round pick under Colbert. So like but like at the same time, like for a guy that like has been the model of consistency, very team first guy from everything you can reasonably say in that regard, and very reasonably priced as well, especially when there's probably going to be running backs next year that are going to hit the market and probably try to make a little more than him. I don't get the logic. And I don't know. I think there is something to be said about having a lead back on your team that has been consistent.
Yeah.
And even if he costs a little bit more than maybe you want to pay a running back, I think this goes back to the whole logic of running backs are just a dying breed in terms of giving elite money to nowadays, which is sad because they touch the ball more than anyone next to the quarterback.
Yeah,
well, arguably more than the quarterback, actually.
So Saquon Barkley's getting 12.6 per year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like, I mean, that's not a comp, but it's a comp. You know what I mean?
And he had an knee and he had towards ACL, I think, his 2nd year, and also was not healthy much of.
That's what I mean. Year. Like 12 million. Yeah. Najee's
GMs don't value running backs. We would want Najee to be around 5. Agreed, NBA, that we would want Najee to be around 5.
But he's not.
But to get him at 7 when the open market is giving guys more, like, I mean, he'll probably come in and he could get a deal for $6 million across 3 years from a team, and we probably wouldn't match that. But to get him for 1 year for that and then let him leave just makes way more sense. I don't know. It's an interesting one. It doesn't. It matches, I guess, this new Steeler that we have no idea who they are, but it doesn't really make sense to me from a standpoint of trying to like make the team the best it can be. Even if you're gonna go draft a running back next year, why you wouldn't try to keep him and Warren on, and then you can draft somebody that, I don't know. It was weird.
What's interesting, and I saw this. There's a list of guys that are free agents from this offense next year: Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth, and I think there was a lineman that was on that list too. I can't remember who, but those are like guys that you essentially built your entire. I don't want to say built your entire offense around, but like were productive on your offense for a while. So, like the logic to me just makes no sense unless you are essentially trying to build your entire team around the O-line. And if that's the case, I'm cool with it. Like I would you win in the trenches. That's a foregone conclusion at the end of the day in the NFL or in football in general. But at the same time though, like I understand Freiermuth's numbers haven't been up there and stuff, but like when we needed him, he was relied upon, and Najee has been the model of consistency. You would think that an organization would want to like reward that, but it's just business.
Warren's contract is also up.
Oh, so both of our backs are going to be up.
No, I'm sorry.
Year.
I'm wrong. He's still 2026.
Yeah.
Okay, he just signed that.
But he's also, I mean, he's the Eckler to Najee's Melvin. He's everything you kind of want out of a back right now. And I think if you do look at Arthur Smith's offenses, despite having the most success with Henry, A lot of it is spread as opposed to north-south.
Mm.
Najee's a big north-south guy, so there's justification. It's just interesting when you look at the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So okay, so then is that the logic then? You're trying to say like we want to see if you can change your running style for the offense we want to run, and then we'll decide if we want to give you a contract. Like
It's dumb. He shouldn't change his running style.
it's a little bullshit, if you ask me.
Yeah. I mean, it's the NFL, and they've definitely made some decisions lately that show that they're not the same old Steeler, which is cool.
No, they're
but
not. It's a mixed bag in that sense, but it's exciting though. You know.
Yeah, agreed. I think.
I mean, I would say that we agreed that it was probably a good idea to not pick up Justin Fields' $25 million contract option.
NBA says, would you guys spend that 7 mil more on a solid cornerback or on Najee? So it's not so much that I want to spend the 6.9, whatever it is, mil on Najee. It's just that we are putting ourselves into a position to have only Jalen Warren at running back or draft a rookie when we're in a win now mode, as opposed to just guaranteeing we'll get our guy back. Yeah, I'd probably rather bring in an elite corner, just knowing Warren's good and we can fill the running. I mean, running back's a turnstile, but it is us just saying like, all right, we're win now across the board. We have two quarterbacks on 1-year deals. The only quarterback I believe we have is the baseball player we drafted, and maybe Kyle Allen, unless he's on a 1-year deal. So I think I'd rather them have a little consistency across the board, but that's just my thoughts, NBA.
Yeah, and then let's also think about this too. Like, even if you pick up the 5th year option, it doesn't mean you actually have to agree to that. Like, if you pick up the 5th year option, like you can immediately start extensions with
Yep.
them. So, like that part I don't understand either. Because like I'm pretty sure if you don't, because they didn't pick up the 5th year option, I don't think they can negotiate a contract extension with him this year.
Really?
Yeah, like because I was curious if them not picking up the 5th year option meant that like they can start negotiating an extension right now instead of like after the fact, and you can't. I guess it's like built in the CBA that like that's the rule with it.
Huh.
So
Well, and I guess to be fair, they're not going to extend him if they're not going to pick up his 5th year, probably.
right,
At least not yet.
yeah, but that's such a dick move for an organization to just kind of be like, hey, you've been everything we've wanted for 3 years when we drafted you, and you've outperformed honestly with what you expected. But we want to see how you mesh with our new style before we're willing to pay you. Like,
So, Greg, they
not
can.
Oh, they can?
Yep.
Okay.
In other cases, teams opt not to pick up a 5th year option but may negotiate a longer extension with the player instead. However, 5th year options are often picked up by teams if the player is meeting or exceeding expectations.
I would argue that Najee is clearly exceeding expectations in this sense. I can't tell you the last first round running back that's had 1,000 yards in each of his like first seasons to start. Like almost every first round running back either underachieves or gets hurt at some point. So I don't get it.
Could just be moving away from running altogether.
Interesting.
I mean, that's been the Steelers' bread and butter for how long, right?
Well, and they brought in Cordero.
Yep.
Who technically was great at running back for a year.
Yeah. But perhaps we're seeing the Steelers finally trying to catch up to times and become a elite passing offense, and Najee does not fit into that.
Well, to that credit though, like Russell Wilson was at his best in a play action style offense, especially in Seattle. So, like the logic.
Well, he's still here. He's like, you know what I mean? Like
that's fair. That's fair. I get what you mean. I get that, Josh. But like saying that they're like changing their style of offense when if it's a play action heavy type thing, like running is still going to be like the main concept. That's your focal point, though. So that's kind of like where the backwards type logic of like not picking up the back that's been so consistent for you kind of doesn't make sense for me.
You could also just look at this as the Steelers are now going to start doing a New York Rangers, and I don't know what the football equivalent of it is because we really don't see it often, where they're just going to try to bring in as many weapons in the offseason as possible and keep their defense intact and be like, look how great this defense is. We're just going to try to get an offense that can score X number of points. And so, like, if that's the first iteration of that, right? You go out, get 2 starting quarterbacks, one of them has to work. You got 2 running backs, one of them has to work. You have however many wide receivers, one of them has to work. You know what I mean? Like that might just be like,
Right.
if we put a good O line together and we have a stacked defense, in theory, any talented player can play in those positions because we can't go get a Mahomes or an Allen or whatever.
Sound logic. I'll give you that.
I don't think we know shit.
Yeah,
and I
that's
think
true.
they have a plan. And who knows, man? We will see because they, yeah, the non-pickup of Najee is just an interesting one for me. It just
Yeah.
seems simple, but at the same time, I mean, I don't even know who's who are the running backs in next year's draft class.
I have not even touched that
The
part
Penn
yet,
State
so I
kid
have no idea.
probably. Unless
Singleton,
he comes
I think
back
he's
for his
a.
junior year.
I thought Singleton was a freshman this year, so I don't know if
So
he is
this
eligible.
he's
or
got
not.
a sophomore year, and then he can come out.
Oh, okay, cool.
I will. I'm looking at Walter Football always does a good job, but I don't see. I can't even think of like one. I don't know. College running backs have kind of been pissing me off lately. I feel like they all
I've been
suck.
seeing I've been seeing a lot of 2025 stuff lately just because that's like the fun thing to do the week after the draft. Like I've seen
Yeah.
like I still get emails from like Matt Miller's Draft Scout from time to time because I signed up for the subscription, but I don't have like the paid tier. But like I didn't realize like next year's class has like a lot of trench heavy guys.
Oh yeah.
Especially I did not realize that Tennessee has a top 5 talent in this year's
They have.
class coming up.
He's top 5, and he's not 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1. Pierce the edge rusher is the guy next year, which is cool.
Mm-hmm. I also saw some big O linemen. Like I think Texas has Kelvin Banks. I think
Yep.
LSU has another William Campbell. I think is the other one. And I have seen Quinn Ewers as the #1 quarterback in this class. So at least you got that to enjoy and see what
Y'all
happens.
trash. It don't matter who Ian's have. Could have Jesus Christ himself. He ain't getting through our guys. Okay, bueno. NBA said, think about it. Trey Benson went in the 3rd round. That's cheaper plus better than Najee. That's perfect, but there's no Trey Benson next year as of right now. I don't think
As
we
of
know
right now,
shit,
yeah.
and they probably have a plan. Some of the tagline of TF2B. What's up, Jeremiah? Thank you. What grade do you guys give Peyton Wilson? 3rd round. Is he a hit or a miss?
Oh, if he's healthy,
He's our linebacker
if he's healthy,
from NC
he's a
State.
hit.
Oh,
He's
that
the
kid. Okay.
one contract linebacker, but he's the best linebacker in the class.
He hits like
Oh.
a truck.
It hits like a truck. If he has no ACL, so you don't have to worry about it getting torn or something. But man, there was talks about this guy for the longest time in college, and I'm just happy he's going somewhere that he's going to be utilized. Because if there's one thing, and Alex Kozor was the one that said like everything was on the wall that they were going to draft an inside linebacker, and they got the best one in this class, in my opinion.
I'd agree. Running backs for next year: Mississippi has a kid named Quinshon Judkins. Oklahoma State has a kid named Ollie Gordon III.
I'll keep an eye on.
North Carolina has a kid
Thank
named
you.
Omarion Hampton. Ashton Genty out of Boise. Traven Henderson out of Ohio State. I actually know that name.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Trevor Etienne, Travis Etienne's brother. I know about that name.
Where's he? Is he at Clemson or is he somewhere else?
Florida.
Florida. Okay.
He was at Georgia, I think. He might have transferred.
Yeah.
I mean,
He was at
everyone
Florida,
transfers
and I
to
think he
college.
transferred to Georgia. Yeah, he transferred to Georgia, and then he had some off-the-field issues this offseason. Another big name, Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum's running mate at Michigan.
Yep.
Is he still at Michigan? I'm guessing.
It's a good
That's
question,
a great
Greg.
question.
Actually, Michigan has a couple
Yeah.
like dudes coming out next year that should be really good. I think they have a corner that's supposed to be like top 10 talent.
Probably bust. Yeah, that's pretty much the last of the backs that I've ever heard of.
Okay.
Interesting.
Not terrible, but just a lot to prove. And hear us out too. Like coming into this year, like we didn't think this was going to be a good receiver class, and that got destroyed real quickly.
We didn't think it
We'll
was going to
see.
be a deep receiver class.
Well, Marvin Harrison, obviously, but like after that, it was kind of like I thought Emeka Buke was going to be the number 2 guy, and he ended up kind of underwhelming a little bit. So,
well, he ended up going back to college.
That's true, and he should get a much better load in because Harrison's not there anymore. But still, I was not expecting this receiver class to be that good this year, and it was. So,
oh, Bueno wants knowledge on the Browns. That's why he did say that earlier. Troy Franklin or Roman Wilson? Who's better in 5 years? Greg?
Ooh. If they stay on their same teams?
Yup. I think it's Roman Wilson. He's fit better to run in the Steelers' offense. Troy Franklin could be a flash in a pan.
That's very true. I mean, there's the familiarity with Bo Nix at Denver that might help him and stuff, but I don't know. Like the last time, like Sean Payton's had a couple really good receivers in their offenses and stuff, but they've always kind of like underwhelmed after the fact. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like Michael Thomas at one point was the best receiver in the league, and that lasted 1.5 years.
Well, that's because he couldn't stay healthy.
There was one instance where he couldn't stay healthy, and then there was another one where he was kind of like he was being a little bit of a problem child.
Yeah.
I'm looking it
Prove him wrong.
I'm looking it up.
I know the 1 year he played 1 game and then was hurt the rest of the year. I know that, Josh, but that was after. It was like 1.5 years after he signed that big money contract.
Okay, so first team All Pro in 2018 and 2019, right?
And then they gave him that huge extension. That was he was the highest paid receiver. Yeah.
And then he played 7 games, 3 games, and then 10 games. So
get his ass.
Thank you. All right, 2 points to Josh.
Yes. Take 2 points from my mock and add it to yours.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Okay. I'm just gonna talk about a team generally.
Go ahead.
And I want you to tell me what you would do with this team. This team has 4 superstar level players, 1 S tier player, like truly top 5 guy. And they take up the majority of this team's cap space. This team is always a high performer in the regular season, and they always make the playoffs. However, since this core 4, we'll call it, have been together, they have advanced past the first round of the playoffs once and have only won 3 of the 11 games in which they did not advance past the first round. What do you do with a team like that? Do you continue to run it back? Do you trade away 1 player, 2, 3? Do you blow it up? What's just general vibes?
First of all, I know who he's talking about, but I was very much hoping that this was going to be a Phoenix Suns conversation just because I wanted to have that. But
yeah, what sport?
It's the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Got it.
But it's also, how is it also not the Suns?
Yeah, I agree, but like I agree, but like when you said core 4 and you were talking about like playoff series, I knew it was the Maple Leafs after the fact.
I mean, the Suns made a championship appearance in the past 5 years.
Yep.
So I guess that gives them
lost to the Bucks. Yep.
But like, there seems to be a couple of teams, and this isn't just the Leafs. There's a couple of teams on both sides of the NBA and NHL landscape right now that have rosters that are either aging out or have rosters that are assembled with players in their primes that are not working.
So, to your Leafs question, because that's the one that you want the answer on. Biggest problem with the Leafs is that, yes, they have their core 4, but another problem is that the cap in the NHL is not rising as fast as it needs to be for the Leafs to be able to add depth and add scoring and add solid third line and defensive help for them as well to be able to round out that team. So because you have 4 guys taking up so much cap space, that's always going to be an issue. I think you should. I don't want to say blow it up because yes, like I understand in hockey, like anyone can be traded. Wayne Gretzky's been traded. That's the saying, as it always is. Gretzky at least won 4 rings and was also like to a degree like on the downturn of his career. So I'll give you that. But I would think if I was the Leafs,
Hmm.
I would at least trade one of the guys at least. I'm keeping Matthews. He's the face. They just gave Hyman a big. They just gave Hyman just had a 50-goal season because he was on Matthews' line. So like, he's not making a lot, Josh. Right? Like,
you're never mind. We should move
I know
on.
he's not a big four, but I know he's not a big four, but I'm just saying, like, he has.
Greg, he's not even a Leaf. He hasn't been a Leaf for 2 years, bud.
Who's the guy am I thinking? Oh, he's on the Oilers. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm an idiot. I'm
Not
sorry.
all Canadian teams are the same, Greg.
I mean, they kind of are.
They kind of are, yeah. I know Nylander's on like what, a 7-year, like $12 million a year cap hit or something like that.
Nylander and Matthews aren't going anywhere. Although you could trade them, but they are both signed long term and a big cap hits.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I think I would. Hockey's the one sport where I don't think you'll ever get the return. Like, I think if you're in basketball and you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder and they like sat there and were shit and shit and shit and shit, and then they hit on a few guys like, okay, activate all 17 of our picks. Or if you look at football, traditionally these trades, you're able to get return on guys that you need to move. Like, sadly for the Broncos, they sent life away for Russell Wilson. Sadly for the Panthers, they made the Houston Texans one of the best teams in the NFL for Bryce Young. Like, when things are high value, you're able to get it back. Players are a little bit different there. Hockey's the one sport where it's like with the cap and knowing that prospects generationally, there's like one guy a year that everyone sucks over. And there's a lot of, I mean, Lord Stanley's what the toughest one to win. And so it's like you can get all these really, really close, really, really good situations. And if you're not doing it in hockey, a lot of the times it's like, oh, well, you know what? We had a really good season. And that's the one sport you're like, oh, no, we had a good season. Like if you look at the Pens and that shit, it's like, well, you know, we're not the best, but we're not the worst, but we're not the best. And it's really sad. So if I was the Leafs, I'd fucking trade everybody. But I don't think you're going to get value back to what you need to do. Like it's almost, you're just in limbo is where it is. So you either trade everyone and try to get some younger pieces and win again 10 years from now, or you enjoy limbo.
Okay. If you are the Milwaukee Bucks, who are currently losing to the Pacers by 10, what the fuck do you do now?
They wanted Doc.
They did.
They did.
Yep.
Yeah,
well, I would have done a better job at this point. I would have had Budenholzer over Doc at this point.
I mean, how much are you? How much of a percentage is also based on the fact that like Giannis hasn't played the entire series?
But that's why you got Dame.
Right. And that's why you have all the other pieces that you have. It's supposed to be the deepest team in the East. They're supposed to be able to beat people, especially what are the Pacers are an 8 seed?
6, yeah. Pacers. No one saw the Pacers being this good this year, so yeah.
That's just not like you have the bones of a championship roster. You added a S tier player who has had playoff success on his own without any kind of depth or talent around him. And you can't beat the fucking Pacers in the first round?
If I'm the Bucks, I would probably get rid of Dame.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I understand wanting to have 2 superstars that are like, you know, like the guys that like are the focal point of a team and just making it work and stuff. And to me though, Dame has not looked like Dame since he's been in Milwaukee, I feel like. And I don't know how much of it is based on the fact that like Doc is the coach and he's making him play differently or something like that. But I don't know. Like to me, Dame is probably at his best when he is kind of the focal point of the offense, and he's also the guy that is. Well, he's been the main ball carrier too for them and stuff. But like, I just think he doesn't fit what Doc looks for in a player and looks for in a team.
Doc Rivers doesn't look for anything. Doc Rivers is a bum who got lucky one time.
And he has been living off of that one-time lucky for a while. Right. So
here's the point: you can't get rid of Dame because who are you gonna go get? You already know that Chris Middleton is not a Robin. Also, Chris Middleton is 2 seconds away from retiring. And you know that your superstar, the second you get rid of Dame, is going to go, okay, now what? And if you don't have the answer, or the answer isn't already happening, he's going to be like, all right, get rid of me. I'm done. Mm-hmm. He's already been dropping hints, threatening, all that kind of shit. And then you're all the way back to being the fucking Bucks.
All the way, Greg.
All the way, yeah.
Then your best player is Bobby Portis for the next 10 years. Maybe Beauchamp turns out, but he's not going to be Giannis.
No chance.
Okay.
How much longer does Brook Lopez have on his team, just out of curiosity?
He has as long as he wants. I'll pay for his contract. Actually, I'm bringing him to fucking OKC to give Chet a break in the paint.
Nice veteran presence in the at the center spot. I like that, actually.
NBA, what did you think? I can't remember if we had this conversation on air or if this was in person last week. What do you think about KD going back to the Thunder? I see you're giving KD some hate in the chat, which I agree with. I'm on your side. I don't want him anywhere near the Thunder, but there's a lot of people on this podcast that are saying that if you were to keep him or to bring him on the Thunder, he's immediately the best player on the team. So what do you think of all that, NBA?
Well, that's just a fact, so it's not so much opinion. But the other side of it, it's not that we were talking necessarily about that. It's about the Galactus approach of what you'd have to give up to get Kevin Durant. Because free agency to the Warriors and then to the Nets who gave up everything and then to the Suns who gave up everything. Everybody gives everything for KD and you don't get much in return.
Yep. No championships, at least.
Is it fair to say, too, by the way, that I'm just spitballing here. Is it fair to say that as elite of a scorer that Kevin Durant is, that he cannot be, that if you just put him on on a team and just had him be the guy, don't even pair him with anyone. Like don't try to pair him with, don't try to build a super team around him. Don't try to even with Booker and Beal and stuff like that, or even another big three. Just put him on any team and make him be the one that is just the end all be all for that team. Yeah. Kevin Durant would probably have much more success being the focal point of a team instead of having to pair up with people.
Maybe 7 years ago.
Yeah. Give me an example of what you're saying.
Like in general, if you took him off of the Suns or placed him on any team right now that probably doesn't have a superstar, off the top of my head,
the Wizards.
Oh, it's an ugly situation, but
well, they don't have a superstar. They got Poole and Kuzma.
That's true. You know what? Sure. Put Kevin Durant on the Wizards and make him the focal point of that team with everything that they still have right now. Even if you put Kuzma and all them, I feel like Kevin Durant succeeds more as just the guy instead of trying to tag team with someone. Because I feel like since he's left the Warriors, he has tried to start his own thing, or he's tried to pair up buddy with someone, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Make him the focal point. Make him just the end all be all of your franchise and your team. And I feel like you'll get better results because KD is forced to do more.
I don't. That's like being if you asked a car to fly, maybe it would fly. I don't think a franchise where Kevin Durant walks in and is the only guy is a good thing. Mainly because the situation where he didn't have to be the guy, he won a ring. Like Oklahoma City, he was the guy compared to Westbrook. He left. He is not the
Mhm.
guy at the Warriors. He goes to the Nets, where he is the guy with James Harden and Kyrie Irving. He was the guy. He
Mhm.
goes into Phoenix, where he takes over a team that had guys and
Yeah.
becomes the guy there. I don't think plopping him and putting him in a situation where he's the only guy would do anything but give Kevin Durant more excuses. Like he
So then,
needs to be just an elite scorer on a really good team, is what it feels like. He's not.
so you need him to be a Robin then.
Is he putting that Cleveland Cavaliers team on his back that LeBron did? No.
No, no.
You thought about that way too long. No. So him going to Oklahoma City makes sense. It's terrible. I hate it. They'd have to give up a lot. Him, Shea, and Chet together though would be interesting.
Just really awkwardly sized people.
Basically.
Well, like, or even if you put him on another situation, like, what would KD do if he was like on the Kings with like De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis?
Probably be good. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't think they'd be fine. Do I think they have a better chance to win than the Suns? No.
Then, like, I guess my question is then, like, is the ideal situation for him is to be that elite scorer where he is not the guy that is like the team runs through. Then that is like the perfect situation for Kevin Durant, is what you're saying.
100%. I don't think there's a team out here who you can put him on and go, oh, he's the only guy they have. This is going to be good for him. That's what I think.
Okay. My point was more so from the fact of like he's been on teams where he's been relied upon, but he's also had other superstars with him to kind of like I don't want to say take the pressure off, but I feel like having more than one guy kind of like messes with your chemistry or messes with how the offense should work.
What example of Kevin Durant by himself has worked?
I don't know off the top of my head, honestly, but what I'm saying is like
there hasn't been one.
He hasn't, but my point is that he hasn't had the chance to do it, lately.
Ever. He's never been the guy. Like he's been the guy, but he's never been the solo dolo, no one else around. He played with Westbrook, Serge Ibaka. He played with Steph, Clay, Dre. He played with James Harden, Kyrie Irving. He played with Devin Booker. Like the Suns situation when he got there was the closest thing he had to being the only guy. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's one of those situations where we've never seen it, so maybe it's true. I don't have any faith in Kevin Durant.
Is it Kevin Durant you don't have faith in, or is it the Suns you don't have faith in?
Kevin Durant.
Okay.
Hey, look what he's done. He left a team that we thought would be to the finals 17 more times in OKC to chase a ring. He gets that ring. He goes to the Nets, has them do everything wrong. They trade away every young piece with Jared Allen and all that group and that team that no one thought was going to be good who gets to the playoffs. They trade all that away for Harden and Irving, which is like the weirdest situation in basketball, and he hates it so much. Then he gets pushed to the Suns, who went to a final without him.
And gave up everything to get him as well, and it came back to bite them.
It's crazy.
And
I know Josh wants him in Oklahoma bad, so.
Can we talk about because we're almost wrapped up here on the first round of the NBA playoffs, at least in the West. Is everyone excited about Wolves and Nuggets? Or, like, yes. I mean, that's going to be a barn burner.
I need you to say out loud
wrong.
That you love Anthony.
Man, him versus Jokic might be, like, the greatest, like, size mismatch we've seen in a long, long time. You know what I mean? Because, like, in theory, Ant should not be able to do the things he wants to do because Jokic is going to be crowding the paint, right?
Yeah.
But at the same point in time, the man hits his head on the backboard defending a play. So like, don't put it past him. But then on the other flip side is like, can Cat handle Jokic 1-on-1? Like, I mean, it's gonna be every game should be 120 to 123.
Well, that would be Gobert, who is
yeah. I would guess
good.
Rudy would be
You're
the one
good.
to do that.
He's supposed to be the best defensive center in the league. I don't know. It's interesting. I think the Nuggets are the better play style team. Like, they are a team that runs a system. I think the Timberwolves right now are
red hot.
And here's the ball. Everyone else get out of the way.
Yep.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards is the realest of deals. I love him so much.
Oh man, I did not expect the T-Wolves to sweep the Suns. I really did not. The fact that they did do that sweep just adds so much more confidence in just what I think of them, and especially after Anthony Edwards is just talking shit to Kevin Durant, like walking backwards up the court. That that put him in like top tier on that one right there. So I'm excited. I think this will go Game 7, and I think this will go 7 games, and I think the Nuggets will like barely get by, but it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be very, very tough.
Deke?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the Nuggets. They're, like I mentioned, they're a better team. They've been here before. They run a system. They're undeniable. If the Nuggets don't, go straight to the finals, I would be very surprised, which sucks. But I want it to be the T-Wolves. I would love, excuse me. So I'd love for the Mavericks to shit on the Clippers, which they are. I love a Mavericks Thunder conference here. I would love to see any team. I think whoever wins Timberwolves Nuggets goes to a final, and that's not a disrespectful thing for the Nuggets or the Thunder or the Mavs. I think the Mavs out of there probably they could beat the Thunder with Luka and just like being a weird hunky punk team. The Thunder obviously are an amazing team, but they're so young.
Yeah.
I was saying it. I think I said it to Greg, where like everyone's like, "Oh, the Nuggets didn't really turn it on," or this. Good teams do it when they need to, even though they're the 2 seed. Like the Oklahoma City Thunder sprinted, and they sprinted to the number 1 seed, and they sprinted to a easy play-in. So for me, I mean, I see the Nuggets coming out of here as the winner. I don't really know. As long as the Mavericks beat the Clippers, I think we're all winners here.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
you have no desire to see the Clippers move on at all.
No, that fraud franchise, that fraud team, those fraud broken athletes that they trot out there. Kawhi Leonard's a fraud. James Harden's a fraud. Paul George is a fraud.
Kawhi didn't even play last night either, which is just ugh.
It would be kind of fun though to see Harden and Westbrook come back
to OKC.
Yeah, and like have to play game.
It would be poetic. I'll give you that, Josh.
Game 1, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's the Nuggets. I think it's the Nuggets in 5 or 6. I don't think it goes 7. I don't think that the Timberwolves can quiet Jokic enough to keep up with them, and I think Jokic defensively can quiet the Timberwolves.
My pushback on that, Josh, is that Jamal Murray is hurt. And while, yes, I understand Jokic is right now like the elite of the elite, Jamal Murray that offense runs through him. Like, he is the catalyst for how they set that up entirely. And if he can't go when he's struggling to be able to walk, like, that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough with going up against some young legs like the T-Wolves in the playoffs, man.
So you think they win 2 games? Is what you're saying, Greg? Or
I think the T-Wolves. Yes, I think the T-Wolves will win 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, Josh. So you think it goes 7?
But like when he said 5, I was like, damn, man. Like I think I think they'll be a lot more competitive than that.
Okay, I also think that the Jamal Murray thing is not that big of a deal. I don't think he's that hurt.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say he's.
Oh no!
He's I was like, Jesus.
He's a big deal.
Oh, I thought Murray rolled his ankle or something. Like
no, so it says he strained his calf in the second half of Game 4, and my guess is like they knew they were gonna beat the fucking Lakers, and had they needed him to come in, they probably would have.
That's true. He was quiet a lot in Game 5, and then in like the fourth quarter came up, and he just went guns a-blazing on that to like eventually win that game. So
like I think I think Jamal Murray's probably fine. Okay. And then,
Which, by the way, real quick, since you did bring up the Lakers, real quick,
Yeah.
thoughts on LeBron's post game presser where someone asked him if he would be a Laker and he gave a very non-answer on it.
Bitch.
that's pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
exactly what I expected from you.
He came to LA to win the bubble ring, which, thank you, LeBron. And then just to get all of his stats to say that he was on the Lakers team when he did everything. Yep. News came out that the Lakers are entertaining the idea of drafting Bronny to keep LeBron around. Called that. Yeah. If I was the Lakers right now, I would look at everything and I'd say, you know what? Are we going to do exactly the same thing we did when we had Kobe, which is spend too much money for a guy who can still do it but not do it. So Kobe was still out there dropping points, but then we weren't going to win a title. I don't know, man. You can blame everybody on the planet. They wanted Ham in there. I think he was a terrible coach. I think he was positionally not a good coach at all, and they wanted him in there once again. And then they threw him under the bus, them being LeBron and AD. Here's the other side of it, though. If you were going to sit there and tell me that the Lakers have lost or they've been kicked out of the playoffs the last 2 years,
right?
And it just happened that they were kicked out of the playoffs by arguably the greatest pudgy player we've ever seen. I mean, really, Ham's not doing so bad when you look at it on a piece of paper because it's the Nuggets twice. If LeBron sticks around, I will be pissed. I think I'm done. I think I'm over it. I'm tired of us saying Austin Reeves is our piece to a title. I think Austin Reeves is great. Deloading. I'm glad he came back. Yada, yada. Roy Hachimura, I'm a big fan. We're too far from a title to keep limping around.
So you'd rather just kind of rip the Band-Aid off and just, I don't want to say rebuild, but at least
What's Julius Randle doing? What's Josh Hart doing? What's Brandon Ingram doing? What's Kyle Kuzma doing? We had all those guys at one time.
The Lakers know how to draft. They know how to draft.
We got a title. So, but we had.
Do you put an asterisk on that title at all, or no?
I respect that title. I think that title was. It's interesting because it's a really hard title, but when people say it was the hardest title in NBA history, maybe. I mean, hear me out. There was a time where they didn't have planes and they drove buses to every game. So, who do I know? I don't know. Some people love the bubble. Some people hate it. LeBron called it the toughest rig he's ever won in terms of the game not being down 3-1. So I don't have an asterisk next to it.
I would say the environment that they were in was probably difficult because you were secluded the entire time.
It was an AAU tournament, yeah.
Essentially, yeah. That's a great way to put it. It was the AAU tournament, yeah.
For sure. I'd be pissed if they drafted Bronny just to keep LeBron around, is what I'll say.
I'd be pissed because I want to see Bronny play at the Bluff probably in January or something.
Yeah, has there been any more smoke around that?
I have no idea. Zach Weiss hasn't said me anything about it, which I'm surprised by because apparently I thought there was going to be some smoke about it, but no. And the whole backstory about it is that the assistant coach who was on Keith Dambrot's staff got promoted to head coach. I think his name's Drew Joyce III, and he was actually a teammate of LeBron's in high school.
Yeah.
So that's where the connection kind of comes in.
And the coach was the coach of that team.
Yeah, but it makes a ton of sense to me in my opinion.
Nothing.
I think
no news.
I think Bronny needs to get out of LA, come to the cold and rainy and just ugly conditions of the Hill District and just ball all the time and then learn how to play a proper system. Get his wind about him, become a good college basketball player, and that's how you develop.
Who's the last good Duquesne player to go pro?
Chuck Cooper, I believe was his name. It was in the 50s.
Oh, my brain was Obi Toppin, and I'm like, wait, no, that's Dayton.
Dayton, but
yeah, Chuck Cooper. It's bad when the picture's in black and white.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
It was
also
also
bad
the
when they.
last time they were in the tournament was, I believe, he was on that team.
Well, it's tough when they have a St. Louis team in his bio.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a minute. And the
Oh, the
Fort Wayne
St. Louis
Pistons,
Hawks.
St. Louis / Milwaukee Hawks. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Not good.
born in
There was a lot of
26.
there was a lot of relocation back then in the Indy.
Greg just named a guy who was born in 1926.
And then he was arguing with us on the couch that he couldn't name 80s Pirates.
I was very out of my
Wrong.
mind.
Yeah.
Very upset.
Have you seen Braun's stats versus Nuggets series? Insane, dude. Is Austin D'Lo Jokic that sank Lakers? Braun is at least to blame. So NBA, sure. LeBron's stats show that he is an elite level player. The problem is all of the guys you just named are guys that he brought in and that he wants on his team. I mean, it's Le GM. Like, he is given so much reign to create the teams that he wants to have in the NBA that coaches, I mean, look at the Tyronn Lue situation in Cleveland. Blatt was the coach of the year. He was the Eastern Conference All-Star coach, and he was fired before the game. And LeBron has just been able to do all this stuff. So yes, his stats look great. LeBron's stats will always look great because LeBron wants to be the greatest player ever, and this is the team that does it. And you give him the ball, and he puts up 40 a night, and I love it. But you have to win. They had, I believe the Lakers had the lead going into the first 3 games at halftime, and just got trounced. And the game that they won was pretty freaking close too. But when the ball bounces a 50-50 coin flip, the Lakers are not the team that's going to win it. I know he didn't draft Reeves, but Reeves stuck around and got an extension, has got a ton of playing time because of it.
And has his own shoe deal from a Chinese company as
Yeah,
well.
I'm a huge Reeves guy. I'm just stating the fact that he is not in a shooting guard that, I mean, him and Caruso, man, the two guys they pushed up to the top. I'm just saying out loud that there is not a situation in which you look at those guys and go, they are the piece that is going to get us a title with LeBron.
So, okay, so based off of that, then, are you going to make a case then that the Lakers are going to be better off with hoping that LeBron declines his $50 million option and then use that $50 million to maybe get what, 3 guys? Like maybe a starter
situation. It is, because here's the 2 things I'll say. One, Lakers are cool again, which, thank you, LeBron. The Lakers are somewhat the Lakers again, right? Like in between Kobe and LeBron, we had a lot of hope and a lot of promise and a lot of like maybes.
Yeah.
There's not a player that's going to come in and try to fill LeBron's shoes. It has to be a young guy, and it has to be somebody we probably draft, which sucks. Like, you're not going to get.
It's not a good draft class this year either. So,
well, it's not a good draft class, but at the same time, no NBA player is going to look at that situation and be like, oh, I want every broadcast to compare me to LeBron for the next 20 years. Like, yeah, I would love to go there and have that be the weight of my shoulders.
This reminds me of like, and I still haven't finished the Showtime Lakers documentary, but it kind of like reminds, but it's like the early '90s Lakers teams that had like Nick Van Exel and can't remember who else, like Eddie Jordan, I think, were like the young guys. Like it was like that era that was between Magic retiring and Kobe coming in and stuff. That's exactly what it seems like, is like they're rebuilding, they're learning who they are and stuff like that, but they're not the Lakers.
Yeah.
Showtime and all that stuff.
And real quick too, NBA says to state the fact Lakers and Nuggets are not that far apart. Every 9 games in the last 2 postseasons were very close. Every game, right? So, sure, they've won 1 out of the past, I think, 13 games against the Nuggets. Like, all of this goes back to LeBron picking Joker last at that All-Star game. It doesn't matter if the games are close, because we've won 1 game. We got swept last year by them, and we won 1 game this year. So we're even right there in the postseason. I know we haven't beat them in the regular season in about 3 years, I think. It was at least 2022 or something.
Yeah, I don't think you got. Yeah, if I recall, like I think that was a story coming in, is that they didn't win in the regular season against them either.
No, and so we can sit there and be like, oh man, it was close. It was close. If it's close 12 times and we lost all 12 times, they're just better, and it's not working out.
No, What would you say, like, if it is a close situation like that, what is kind of like that last piece that is missing? Is it coaching usually that like kind of makes up for it?
100%, dude. Oh my
Yeah.
God, yeah. And that's the thing. There was a bunch of TikTok videos that went around of like,
Oh, the one you sent me was
dude, well,
hilarious.
Ping sent
Holy
it, which was
crap.
great. Yeah,
Oh,
it was
Pink Center. Yeah,
basically
that's
like
right. Sorry.
looking at how bad of a coach he is because the off-ball screen, the guy runs inside, then two guys are on him, and Jamal Murray is wide open, and then no one's picking up their man off it. It's just bad. It's just bad. See, NBA does matter. Luck and injury, everything the basketball god says. I agree that like being close matters, but when you're 1-12, it it just it doesn't for me. Like
Right.
I could be really really close to doing something, but if I'm really close and 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 not doing it, there's something that just got to change.
Yeah. No, I get it. Like if you're evenly matched, but yet for some reason the one thing still continuously beats you over and over and over and over again,
Yep.
there is that one, there's something. There's a reason. You just gotta like be able to pinpoint like what the actual reason is, and you have to be honest with yourself about
Well,
what
it's
it is.
probably AD being healthy too in defense of everybody, but
I was not expecting AD to have to play like as much as he did this year, so I'm giving him credit for that. That was one of the healthy seasons he's had in years
I
too,
know, but
wasn't
that's
it?
the sad part, right? I did not expect
Yeah,
this NBA player to be healthy for an entire season. Like that's sad to say out loud.
yeah, it is. It's sad.
Not good for sure.
It's not good. What else we got?
Man, I think that's kind of it. I thought maybe we'd wrap a little early tonight just because you're not feeling well, and I kind of want to watch the Leafs get destroyed.
It is
I
Josh's
did want to.
birthday, so we
It
will say happy
is.
birthday to him, NBA, just so you know. Go ahead, Greg. What are you going to
His
say?
1,300, 400,000, 500, 600,000 birthday
Yep.
as well. Yep.
Yeah, I'm a deity. Yep.
I mean, you are. What were you
You
curious
are.
about, Greg?
I wanted to ask you guys real quick, just because we did kind of talk about the draft in the beginning, but I did want to ask you guys just real quick, like if you
Yeah.
could think off the top of your head, do you guys have like a favorite class of your own and one that you guys kind of hate altogether?
Draft
Define
class.
class.
Yeah.
Like Steelers draft class?
Well, like
Draft
yeah,
class
just
from
like
this
well, not just like
year?
from yeah, just like do you have a favorite class from this past draft? Just out of
So a
curiosity. Now that the
team's
dust is kind of
draft.
settled. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite like
Yeah, that's the
anyone
verbiage
that
I
you
was
like
looking
in
for.
particular? Because there's a few that I've kind of like.
Yeah, I think that if you're gonna look at who clearly who are the winners in it, the Bears are up there.
Mhm.
I think the Bears had a very elite level draft and can walk away pretty I would say pretty happy with the way kind of everything went
Yeah,
around.
the Bears are a great example of doing a lot with little.
Yeah.
So they did not have kind of like how the Packers are the opposite of that. They did little with a lot, and it's like and it kind of like doesn't make sense to me a
Yeah.
little bit.
No, I think that's totally fair. I'm a personal fan of the Titans draft. I wish they would have addressed wide receiver, but Latham, Sweat, Gray, Brownlee's a guy we talk about a lot, even Harrow at the
Mhm.
end. They're in that like B tier for me there. Um, and then the last one I'll talk about and let you get in, Josh, is the Vikings. So they get J.J. McCarthy, they get Dallas Turner, they get Kyrie Jackson, the long cornerback out of Oregon. They get a kicker, which is hilarious. Michael Jurgens, the center, which I like. Josh, did any stick out for you?
Man, I'm not gonna make it up. I'm looking at a top five
Oh yeah,
thing right now,
Yeah, it's okay,
and
man.
I think I'll just be interested. And I don't know if they had a good draft, but all these articles seem to be pointing that they did. The Eagles probably have the highest ceiling to benefit from their draft immediately.
yeah,
So
Oh, for
like
sure.
if they did well, then that's good because they should have been a Super Bowl contending team again this year. They should be next year. Like that roster
yeah.
like has holes, but if they were able to fill those holes in this draft, like fuck. Like that team didn't lose 13 games in a row this year, right? They just killed everybody.
Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean make their secondary pretty elite right there, and then they drafted Trotter in the 5th, and Johnny Wilson, the 6'6" wide receiver out of Florida State in the 6th.
And here's what I'm just looking at this, and if I was gonna give anybody it would be the Bills, because the Bills could have also had that same effect the Eagles did, and they didn't seem to execute in the same manner.
It took Deke's least favorite player in this entire class with their first pick in the 2nd, actually.
I think Coleman will be fine. He was just my bust. I always have to pick a bust.
You do.
Real quick, NBA writes in, Titans got Ridley. They don't need another wide receiver. Well, they have Ridley and they have Hopkins, and that's it. Treylon Burks is a bust.
Wow, disrespectful.
I mean, he's been a bust. I've called that one from day one.
You know who also had a sneak? I'm scrolling through these lists now. Good. Fucking Bungles.
Mm-hmm.
They got better. They did.
Yep, Mims
that sucks.
Is great. Jenkins is great. Burton is great.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some pretty impressive. Another one that let me make sure. I think I like theirs. Yeah, I think the Saints had a strong draft. Fuaga, one of the better tackle guards in the class. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Spencer Rattler in the 5th, which I think is a great landing spot for Rattler, and Jalen Ford, a linebacker that I was pretty high on coming in there, which was great.
I think a sneaky good class too that I don't think a lot of people are talking about is the Raiders. I know the Raiders didn't draft a quarterback because they desperately need one, but Brock Bowers at 13 I think is a steal. JPJ as their long-term center, because I've been screaming for the longest time that they desperately need offensive line in the worst goddamn way.
Well, they also took your boy.
I know they took your boy Tommy Eichenberg as well, which he just feels like a Raider.
Yeah, I like that. He feels like Robert Spillane with his head still attached.
Yeah, and Trey Taylor won I think the best the DB award of the year or something in college, was pretty good. And MJ Devonshire gave me one of the best moments in college football history, so respect to him on that one.
Colts did okay too, huh?
Yes, they did.
Mitchell, Bortnoli. I mean,
I don't think many people. I mean, I don't think there's many teams.
Who really blew it?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I can't sit here and say the Falcons blew it.
I'm glad you brought that up, D, because I'm very annoyed by people saying that the Falcons lost the draft altogether, because hear me out in general. I think most people can kind of agree that their biggest need was some sort of pass rush help, but I think it's been consistently said that was just not a good pass rush class.
Okay.
Hi, Lance.
Thanks.
What'd she say?
I don't know. I'm supposed to get birthday smooches. I don't know where that came from.
Oh, okay. Probably from Chip. Yeah, maybe. Greg, but so it's a bad pass rush class. So you fill a position that you just spent $180 million.
That's okay.
And then you spend your next 3 picks on pass rush.
I don't hate the pick of them getting Penix. What I hate is the justification for why they did it, if that makes sense. If they didn't sign Kirk Cousins, or if they're not saying, or the logic of we don't think we're ever going to pick in the top 10 again, so we figure we might as well get a talent like that. That's the part that doesn't make sense to me. So I don't want to knock the Falcons for choosing to get a quarterback that all of us like in some sort of way, for the record. I watched him. I watched Penix.
Well,
I know you love Penix. I really like Penix. It's just, to me, I feel like the Falcons had a decent balance of getting a talent that we all like, which is what the draft is about. But yet also, if you look at the rest of their picks, Trice and O'Hora actually are not bad picks and could actually produce this year, which is something they've desperately needed on that line. So
that's the difference, man. They could, but they also could have traded back from 8 and gotten a king's ransom. They could have drafted one of the other quarterbacks that's not 24 years old with 2 career-ending knee surgeries, who's going to be there for 3 years beyond. They could have gotten a corner that is, high in there, like Terrion Arnold. They could, you know what I mean? I'm with you, Greg, and I understand what you're saying. I don't. You got to wait for every draft pick to pan out. But
Right.
to spend the 8 on a guy who everyone collectively had as a second-round grade, a left-handed quarterback who was on arguably one of the hottest teams in college football. We all love Penix. Josh loves Penix. 2 knee surgeries, both pretty terrible. 24 years of age. It just the narrative's against. And if if I could say one parting word for why it's frustrating, it's because the Falcons didn't even bring him in as a top 30. So it's like they really genuinely just it appears that they just shot from the hip and said, "Oh, we like this guy. We're not going to bring him in because we don't want anyone else to know that we're taking him." Hee hee, giggle, giggle. No one else was taking him there, man.
That's the only knock on it, because that's exactly what the Bears did with Trubisky. Like they didn't interview him, they didn't bring him in. Like they met with him once at the combine and that was it, and they still took him. So like that's the knock, I'll give you that. But man, like I don't know why I have such a hard on in this case for like not wanting to knock the Falcons, because I feel like everyone is doing it, and like I'm trying to see the rationale for it, because like if I look at the Falcons, they have had bad quarterback play since Matt Ryan retired in general. So like for me, I can understand them wanting to like, cover their bases and trying to get as much talent in that quarterback room as possible because they haven't had it in a while. And then if I'm comparing it to other positions and stuff, it's like, okay, do I go for the need, or do I go for like, a guy that I think is going to be a talent that can help us for a long time to come? And that's where the dichotomy comes with the draft. It's like, where are you going? Do you want to fill a need, or do you want
for a long time to come? He'll be 29 when Kirk's done.
Long time.
NBA says it's like we have Wilson, Fields, Atlanta has Cousin Penix. Nothing wrong with having 2 quality quarterbacks. No, but we're paying our quarterbacks less money than we paid our quarterbacks last year. They signed Kirk Cousins to a 3-year, $180 million deal and spent the number 8 pick in the draft on a quarterback. And I would say flat out, a quarterback that is not, he might be like ready now, but Kirk, their justification, well, we got Kirk now, so we're never going to pick again this high.
That logic, I will agree, was very dumb.
Well, Tomlin said it best to Chase Young. He said, "I never want to be bad enough to be able to draft a guy like you."
Yep.
That doesn't mean that we're out there just snagging no names because I don't know, man. I love Penix. I'm happy he drafted top 10. It's good for the kid. I think he deserves to be drafted top 10. It's just a weird spot. That's how I'll word it.
Yeah, I'll give you that. It's just, man, I feel like everyone's just been knocking on the Falcons all because of this pick, and it's just like, man, I like the player. I understand them also like filling up needs on the line. Like I just don't want to bash them like everyone else,
Yeah, but you have to understand they're a no-named entity brand that charges nice people $300 to watch a ball get tossed around. Stop having sentiment for the freaking
Although they do charge, they're very cheap on their concessions apparently at Mercedes-Benz. Yeah, which is pretty sick.
Whatever. All right.
Go enjoy your birthday, Josh.
Okay. Love yins.
Love you guys. We'll be back in full force next week when I'm not sick.
There we go.
All right. Bye, NBA. Great talking, buddy.
Bye.